And really, the theme has to do with loving one another. Um, I'm sure I don't need to remind those of you that are observing this evening of the importance of this theme. But I think once in a while it bears repeating. And of course, what we're really talking about tonight has to do with kindness, hospitality. And so I wanted to introduce this by just giving you an idea of a key verse. This is a verse that you probably recognize. It's from 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. And if you're familiar with 1 John, you know that's a key section of scripture that reinforces the power of love. And so tonight we're going to talk not only about love, but the power of genuine hospitality. You know, hospitality creates a welcoming atmosphere where people feel comfortable and really valued. And I think it's more than just a courteous gesture. It's really an expression of love and care and kindness. And I think most importantly, it can be an introduction to a whole new way of life that can open up, that gives you an opportunity to share the love of Christ and to share your kindness. Now, for some, it's a big step. You maybe haven't done this before, or maybe you haven't done it very often. But if you look back to those times when you were invited to someone's home, or invited to a restaurant, maybe after church, or in another setting, you will realize the power of genuine hospitality to touch the life of an individual. There's a great verse in Luke chapter 14, verses 12 to 14. When you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors. I suppose you could, but they might invite you in return and you would be repaid. But when you give a feast or when you put on a meal, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, or we would say the unreached, and you will be blessed. So I think that hospitality is really a key element. I think it's a key element in really thinking this through. Sharing our faith. We can learn to make good connections with people. When we open up our homes and our hearts to other people, we're going to create a great space for meaningful connections. And I think you know that by your own experience. Over the period of time, that serves to build trust, because it shows other people that we care about them. We care enough to take time to prepare a meal or to prepare conversation, and we build into their lives along the way. We share our life. Hospitality is an invitation to share life experiences, you know, our joys, our challenges, our frustrations. And as you get to know other people, it becomes easier to trust them, you know, and to really build into their lives. Maybe there's something of encouragement, something that you can share. And then, of course, it's the whole idea of embracing what I call differentness. People that you're maybe not really acquainted with. So maybe it's a first-time event, or maybe it's you're trying to build on that friendship, and you're different from them, or they're different from you. And that's part of the joy of hospitality, you know, because you're able to find creative ways to build bridges and build meaningful connections with other people. It starts with a contact, with a phone call, maybe an opportunity to extend friendship over the fence into the backyard. So you take initiative, and showing hospitality, I think, is really essential. You know, being kind to other people, demonstrating openness and genuine interest in the other person. And as we've said earlier, it's building trust. And building trust, I think, comes naturally when your hospitality is genuine. You know, a lot of people have an ability to see or to discern whether you're really being genuine in what you're sharing. And it creates a safe space for vulnerability. And a lot of times it's helpful for you to take the lead in that, to share something about your background that maybe you don't think that they even are aware of. And then the last thing that I listed here is shared experiences. Meals, activities, conversations, games in the backyard, table games. That really serves to deepen the connection and to create some lasting memories. So I think that opening the door of your heart, I think is really important. Creating an environment that's physically and emotionally welcoming. And this means offering a comfortable space and a warm greeting. And then this is maybe a lost art, active listening, where you're not only asking questions, but you're listening for the words and the thoughts behind the words. And then you're able to ask another question if you're comfortable doing that, in order to get to know those people a little bit better along the way. Sharing stories always is welcome. Finding ways in which you can, this I think often creates a sense of vulnerability and allows for a deeper connection with other people. Sharing a little bit about your background, where you were born. In fact, those are good questions to ask. Have you always lived in this state or in this town? And you get to know a lot about a person by asking key questions like that. And then, of course, in all of that, to really to do so prayerfully. You even pray as you're even as you're sharing with another individual, to ask the Lord to open up their hearts and to be mindful of opportunities to go a little bit deeper. So I think there are some practical ways in which you can build friendships with other people. Taking initiative, greeting guests warmly and making them feel welcome, and offering something to drink and making sure that they feel comfortable. Because a lot of times people are not comfortable visiting in another person's home setting. And so you can go out of your way to build that by asking good questions and engaging in conversation. And you might want to think that through ahead of time. Come up with 3 or 4 questions that you think might be of interest to them based on what you maybe already know about them. And then sharing meals, sharing recipes. It's a powerful way to connect with people. As you sit around the table, you're face to face, you have a close proximity with the other person, and you can build friendships in a very neat way, I think. And then once in a while in the conversation, they may identify something that requires some involvement on your part. Maybe it's a need that they have, or they were willing to take a risk, and they shared something with you, and you're in a position to be able to help them to meet that need. So those are ways in which you can build friendships, sharing your background, sharing your life experiences. And as you move into a time of sharing your own personal journey as a foundation for maybe sharing the gospel, if that opportunity comes up, talking about people and events that made a spiritual impression upon you. Certainly it could be a book you read, an author, but no doubt it's somebody that mentored you, a coach, or maybe a pastor. And this could be a way for you to introduce them to your church life and your church background. And then I think it's really important, and I think most of you would agree, that it's really important to have a clear understanding of the gospel. There are things called the Roman Road, for example, that people have put together. We're taking key verses from the book of Romans or key verses from the book of John and other sections of scripture that allow you to put the gospel in your own words. And then telling them about your love for other people and your desire to build strength into the lives of other people and to encourage them. And so it involves a way of life, cultivating a new way of life, creating a culture of loving kindness and developing hospitality as a lifestyle. And I think it's important to give this some thought, and maybe even tonight you can think of somebody that you could invite to your home. The summertime is a wonderful time to be able to do this, and I would encourage you to really think about it. Our granddaughter's name is Kendall Beck, And she's a writer. She's a journalism major at Taylor University, going into her junior year. And I've loved some of the things that she has written. I asked her if she would write a poem. Years ago, I used to think every verse in the poem needed to rhyme, but I've learned different from Kendall and from other people. So here's what I'd like to read to you, a poem that she wrote for our meeting tonight. There's an old adage that says, when you have more than you need, build a longer table, not a higher fence. Maybe hospitality is not just simmering pots and the ring of the doorbell, but I heard you needed a place to live for a little while. I'm preparing our spare bedroom upstairs. Not simply shimmering countertops and perfectly steamed sheets, but also let me welcome you into my mess. Love is curiosity. It's tell me more about that, and how can I get to the heart of who you really are? Love is humility. Please, no, serve yourself first, or what can I do to love you better? Love is empathy. I may not have been there myself, but I will be by your side as you walk through it. Something like that goes a long way. And love is hospitality. What the world needs is question askers, arm extenders, and lingering dinners over longer tables. I'll grab the hammer and you chop the wood. Well, I thought that was good, and I wanted to share that with you because I think that goes a long way to talk about how important it is for us to learn to love one another.